Hello, thank you very much for tuning in, and thank you to all my new subscribers for supporting my channel. I'm doing this purely for enthusiasm for the golden era, in my opinion, of middle distance running, which is the 70s and the 80s. I unfortunately lost interest in middle distance running from about maybe 1990 onwards, as it became clear that obviously runners were not on a level playing field. Records started tumbling by ridiculous margins. Too many performance enhancing drugs have muddied the waters, and consequently I lost interest in middle distance running. So I tend to look back at the golden era of Coe, Ovett and Cram, Walker, etc. So really the 70s and the 80s. Here today I'm going to review Coe's world record. In 1979 he broke the world mile record. I was hoping to do the 800 meters, Oslo 142.33. Unfortunately I could not find a full recording of the race on YouTube. I've only been able to find some clips. If anybody out there knows where I could find the full race, then I would be I was hoping to do that first. I was going to do 3 races in 41 days as a series, so I'll have to start with a mile. So okay, 1979, the best runners and the best milers in the world. There was John Walker, Steve Scott, Eamon Coughlin, of course Steve Ovett, who was not in this race. He was undisputedly really the best miler in the world at the time. He had that amazing unbeaten stretch, but he was not in this golden mile. And Coe was the unknown quantity because he'd run 142 for 800 meters. Nobody had really seen what he could do for a mile, 1500 meters. And we're going to have a look at what Coe's got to say about the race. There are some very interesting interviews on this recording, which I would recommend. And they're all saying that, yeah, Coe is the danger man. He's the unknown because he ran a fantastic time in 800 meters, but we don't know what he can do in a mile. Well, they found out, didn't they? But let's hear what Coe's got to say about the race.
The big mile of the year. It's as good as Olympic final out there, really.
How do you assess your chances?
Well, as an 800-meter runner, I have to be realistic that it's double the distance, and I think it possibly calls for a bit more specialised work than what I've been doing. But I don't think I'll run too badly tomorrow.
There are 13 athletes in the Dubai Golden Mile from all over the world.
So I'm going to fast forward it a bit because, you know, obviously I don't want this video to go on too long. Let's just go to the
from Australia.
Here we are.
The little Japanese.
So yeah, Walker's in the race. Steve Scott. Scott was saying that he'd run 2 personal bests the previous year in Oslo, 1500 a mile. I'm not too sure what those personal bests amounted to. So it's quite a good sized field here. Coe said it's like an Olympic final. It would be if Ovett was in it. So if you think the best miler in the world is not there, well, of course, I suppose Coe became the best miler in the world along with Ovett. So there they go. So the current mark at this particular point in time is 3:49.4, as it was at that time. A magnificent time set by John Walker, knocking 1.6 seconds from Philbert Bye's time of 3:51, which he set in the so-called Miracle Mile. I think in 1973 perhaps. So I regret never going to Oslo. You know, it looks like a fantastic atmosphere, and there was the Bislett Games and the Oslo Games. I think they were 2 of the big circuit, European circuit track and field meets for the year that everybody really wanted to be in. So saying it's a leisurely first lap, but I think that the time,
and the first lap there of around 57 seconds.
Yeah, 57. You see, 57 seconds first lap. Coe probably went through in what, about 58 something, 58.5 perhaps. I mean, that's not too slow to rule out a world record at that particular time, and it's not too fast, as we saw with many of Coe's record attempts. The first lap really ruled out any possibility of setting a world record because it was just too ridiculously fast. but the pace is reasonable because it started at around about sort of 57, 58 seconds, and it can gradually wind up from there. And there are enough for, you see, Steve Scott, one good thing about him was he always made sure that it was a relatively fast race, even if he knew he wasn't going to win. They're saying 155. I mean, for a 3:49 mile, 155 is quite the right time, really. It was absolutely spot on. That's why Coe in this race looked so comfortable throughout the whole thing, and that's what it's all about. The pace is spot on. Scott's still there. I'm sure Scott is thinking Scott must know Coe's behind him, and he must realise there's a gap, and he must be thinking, you know, Coe is not just great at 800 metres, or he's thinking Coe hasn't got the endurance training to hold on in this mile race and he's going to die. But Coe doesn't look troubled at all here. I mean, he almost looks like he's jogging, but of course, if you've ever tried to run a sub 60 second lap, you'll know that you know, that is fast running. And Scott knows at this point that something special is going to happen. He's watching Coe go away from him. He's watching his heels gradually move away, and he must be thinking, oh no, because he was probably feeling that he had a good chance of winning this race. Everybody in the stadium will know at this point that a sensation is happening. There's a superstar in the making. They've seen him run for 142, smashing Juan Torina's world record, obliterating it. And now they're watching him absolutely decimate a world-class field. I mean, not just decimate, look at the gap between him and Scott and then the rest of them. So he's going through. That's a funny thing. I mean, look at him. He's not even, he doesn't even look troubled by that. And you've got to think that if he'd had the right competition pushing and pressing him, and the pace had been a little bit faster, how fast could he have run? 3:46 maybe? Okay. So just going back to the just before as they go through the finishing line, let's just go back and have a quick look at that, because there's been some controversy about the time. If you have a look here, what time is it? Coe goes through. Just let it go through. So he's going through here. Okay, so he's going through the line in 3:47.86. I've had various discussions with people about this, and I think that the timing on that screen was not in sync with the actual official timing, basically. I'm not sure what went on, whether they started. Something went wrong with that, with the time that's on the screen. There were official IAAF timekeepers there with hand stopwatches, and I'm pretty sure that they would have had 3:48.95 on the, you know, or roughly 3:49 on their stopwatches, and there was the official electronic timing which would have shown the correct time. So there is something wrong with that. So don't be misled by that. Coe did run just inside 3:49, and he set the world record, knocking over 0.4 seconds off John Walker's time. And Walker had been on record of saying that his time was so good he didn't think anybody would beat it for at least a decade. Well, obviously he was wrong about that. So I remember seeing it on the. I mean, I remember. I don't think I saw it live when it happened. I think again I saw it on the news. Coe has broken the world mile record, and that is really when I started taking a big interest in middle distance running. You know, it really captured my imagination even more so than Steve Ovett. So, let me know what you think of that legendary race. I think that Coe could have run much faster if the pace had been a bit faster and if he'd had somebody pressing him. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back again with another video soon. Bye.